March 1944, Silesia, occupied Poland. Snow still clings to the pine forest surrounding a prison camp built to hold the one kind of prisoner the Luftwaffe fears most: men who have already escaped before. Stalag Luft III. Watchtowers every 100 meters, machine guns pointed inward, microphones buried in the sand to catch the sound of digging. The Germans built this camp on soft, pale yellow subsoil for one reason. They believed no tunnel could survive it without the walls collapsing. They were wrong. Behind the wire, in Hut 104, a Royal Air Force officer named Roger Bushell kneels beside a stove. He pulls it aside. Beneath it, a trapdoor, cut so precisely into the floorboards that a guard could stand on it and notice nothing. This is the entrance to a tunnel the prisoners call Harry, 30 feet down, 340 feet long. It will end in the tree line beyond the wire, out of reach of the searchlights. Bushell has spent 11 months planning this night. Tonight, 76 men are going to walk into that forest and disappear.
To understand why this camp exists and why these men are willing to risk their lives for a hole in the ground, the story has to go back further. By 1943, thousands of Allied airmen shot down over Europe are sitting in POW camps built specifically for pilots, men the Germans consider too valuable and too determined to hold in ordinary camps. Escape attempts are constant. Most fail within days. So the Luftwaffe consolidates its most persistent escapers into a single camp deep inside occupied territory, surrounded by forest, far from any friendly border. Stalag Luft III is meant to be the end of the line, a place where escape stops being possible.
Roger Bushell disagrees. Before the war, he was a barrister, sharp, calculating, fluent in German and French. He has already escaped from 2 other camps and been recaptured both times. Now, appointed head of the camp's secret escape organization, he proposes something no one has attempted at this scale. Not 1 tunnel, 3. Tom, Dick, and Harry. Named so that if the guards overhear the words in conversation, they sound like nothing more than men talking about their friends. The logic is simple. If the Germans find 1 tunnel, they will relax, believing they have caught the plot. The others will still be there, waiting. Building 3 tunnels requires more than digging. It requires an entire underground economy. Tailors converting uniforms into civilian suits, stitched from blankets and dyed with shoe polish and tea leaves. Forgers producing exit visas and travel permits by hand, copying German script letter by letter under a single bulb, checked and rechecked against smuggled documents. Engineers rigging fat lamps from tins and pajama cord to light the tunnels, and a rail system built from stolen bedboards to haul sand out on trolleys. Every piece of wood in the camp becomes suspect. Guards count bed slats in the huts and find them missing by the hundreds. The prisoners call the wood shortage a crisis. It is not a crisis. It is Tom, Dick, and Harry swallowing timber by the ton to hold back 300 feet of loose Silesian sand.
The sand itself is the hardest problem to solve. It is pale yellow, nothing like the gray topsoil of the camp surface. Dumped carelessly, it would be visible from a watchtower in seconds. So the prisoners invent a method. Bags sewn into the lining of trousers, hanging from a cord around the neck, opened by pulling a pin while walking the compound. Men called penguins waddle across the yard for hours, scattering sand through their trouser legs with every step, disguising it as ordinary dust kicked up from garden beds. Over the length of the project, they move more than 100 tons of sand through this method alone, one careful step at a time, in full view of the guards, who are watching for exactly this and never quite see it.
In September of 1943, disaster nearly ends the plan. The Germans, growing suspicious of the missing wood and the strange behavior in the compound, launch a search and discover the entrance to Tom. The tunnel is destroyed, filled with smoke bombs and dynamited from within. For a moment, it it seems the entire operation is finished. But the wager Bushel made from the beginning holds. The guards, satisfied they have found and eliminated the threat, relax their vigilance. Dick and Harry remain hidden, one repurposed as a storage chamber for forged documents and tools, the other left dormant.
Winter passes. Through the cold months, the forgers and tailors continue their work in secret, preparing false identities for 76 men who will need to travel through wartime Germany without raising suspicion. Some plan to pose as French laborers, others as Swedish businessmen, Dutch electricians, traveling salesmen with fabricated paperwork stamped by hand. Every document has to survive inspection by a border guard who checks these papers for a living. One mistake in a signature, one wrong shade of ink could mean the end, not just for the man carrying it, but for the entire network behind him. By March of 1944, Harry is finished, 30 feet deep to avoid the buried microphones, shored with bedboards along its entire length, lit by more than 100 fat lamps burning fish oil skimmed from Red Cross parcels. The exit is meant to surface just past the tree line, hidden from the guard towers. On the night of March the 24th, the plan finally moves. 76 men are chosen from more than 600 who worked on the tunnels, selected by a lottery weighted toward those who contributed the most and those judged most likely to make it home. One by one, they lower themselves into the trapdoor beneath the stove in Hut 104 and begin the crawl toward the forest. The first man through discovers a problem no one anticipated. The tunnel falls short of the tree line by several feet. The exit opens in open ground, in full view of a watchtower, forcing each escaper to wait, count the rhythm of the searchlight sweep, and sprint the final distance during the brief seconds of darkness between passes. What should have taken minutes per man now takes far longer. The schedule that called for all 76 to be out before dawn begins to collapse under its own ambition.
As the night stretches on, an air raid forces the camp's lights to be cut entirely, plunging the tunnel into darkness and stalling movement further. Men wait below ground for the power to return, counting each lost minute against the shrinking hours before sunrise. By the time the sky begins to lighten, only 76 have gone through, far fewer than the 200 originally planned. At approximately 5 in the morning, a guard patrolling near the tree line notices steam rising from the tunnel exit in the cold air, and the alarm goes up. The 77th man is caught, still inside the tunnel. Harry is discovered. What follows is the largest manhunt inside German territory during the entire war. Hitler, informed personally of the mass escape, is reported to have flown into a rage, demanding the recaptured men be shot rather than returned to camp. Over the following days and weeks, German police, the Gestapo, and local search parties combed train stations, roads, and forests across the region. Of the 76 men who escaped, 73 are recaptured within days, some within hours, caught boarding trains with papers that do not survive close inspection, or picked up simply for looking like strangers in towns where every face is known. Only 3 men make it all the way home. A Norwegian pilot and a Dutch officer travel separately by train and boat through occupied territory to neutral Sweden. A third escapes overland into Spain and eventually back to Britain. For these 3, 11 months of tunneling, sewing, forging, and waiting end exactly as planned, in freedom. For the other 73, the outcome is far darker, and it becomes the defining horror of the entire escape. Acting on Hitler's direct order, relayed through the Gestapo, 50 of the recaptured officers are taken in small groups over the following weeks, driven out under the pretense of being transferred and shot. Not in combat, not attempting further escape, executed in cold blood, in direct violation of the Geneva Convention, which protects the right of prisoners of war to attempt escape without facing execution if recaptured. Roger Bushel, the barrister who conceived the entire plan, is among them. The camp is told only that the men have been shot while resisting arrest or attempting further escape.
No one inside Stalag Luft III believes it. The remaining prisoners hold a memorial service in secret, carving 50 names into a wooden panel that survives the war and stands today at the RAF's chapel in England. After the war ends, the full truth emerges through an extensive Royal Air Force investigation, which tracks down and identifies the individual Gestapo officers responsible. 18 of them are eventually tried and convicted for the murders, in one of the clearest documented war crimes to come out of the treatment of Allied prisoners. What the 50 men who died left behind was not a successful escape in the way the plan intended. Only 3 reached freedom that spring. But the tunnel itself and everything it forced Germany to do in response became something larger than an escape attempt. Tens of thousands of German personnel were diverted for weeks into the search, resources pulled away from the front at a critical point in the war. The 3 men who made it home carried with them proof that it could be done, and the 50 who did not became, after the war, a permanent reminder of exactly what the cost of that defiance had been, and exactly who had chosen to pay it. This is the story of Harry, and of the men who dug it, sewed for it, forged for it, and in most cases, died for it. If you found this story worth your time, consider subscribing and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.